Guys, this is the most stressful job on the planet in my personal opinion. You're somebody who's just thinking about joining the field. I'm telling you right now, it is not a walk in the park. So stay tuned and figure out how I manage stress every single day as a dentist working in a very, very busy office. There's no secret behind what's going on. There's a reason this profession has one of the highest suicide rates out of any other career. We're inflicting pain on people. People don't like to see us. It's an emotional struggle to connect with patients who are extremely anxious and phobic. Our work is very meticulous and very surgical. Guys, our field is so technique sensitive. It only takes a few millimeters off in a certain direction or leaving a tiny bit of decay that's literally microscopic, that to the point where your procedures may fail and then you have to deal with the patient who's pissed off at you. I'm kind of getting overwhelmed and it's hard for me to realize how to manage this appropriately. But today, that's why I'm making this video, is to explain to you how I deal with stress and how you can maybe manage your stressors a little bit better each and every day. Right off the bat, most important thing in my personal opinion, diet, exercise, and sleep. And if you don't get these three things under control, it's very hard to eliminate what's actually causing the stress. I found that waking up really early every single day around 6 o'clock was a very difficult challenge for me. And I'm a night owl. I like being out at night. I like being social. Also, I'm a huge coffee drinker, so I can't drink as much coffee later towards the end of the day because that's also affecting my quality of sleep. I think a simple tip that helped me a lot getting my sleep schedule on point was putting my phone down at 9 o'clock. I would always be in bed, constantly scrolling TikTok or Instagram, hanging out and talking to my friends, and it would really add up over time. So that's my rule now. I try to put my phone away at a reasonable time, so that way I can wake up for my 5 a.m. gym sessions. And I know I would always have trouble keeping it consistent. However, after doing it for a week, 2 weeks at a time, these have cumulative effects, and I started to notice a drastic difference in my mood and my energy levels. Also, once a day, I practice meditation and mindfulness for about 10 minutes. I know it sounds like gypsy magic and snake oil to a lot of people, but for me, it's made a pretty big impact. I use my Apple Watch. It gives me real good feedback. I can time myself, focusing on the breath and the energy around me. It really helps me zone out all the distractions and all the chatter going on in my mind. I know before meditation, that sound of the handpiece would constantly be ringing in my head. But now over time, I'm at ease. Nothing really phases me anymore. It's hard for me to get aggressive or angry at anybody because I'm understanding, and the inside voice that I'm currently having is much quieter and I'm able to focus on the task at hand. This next tip I learned pretty recently actually. Let me know if this has ever happened to you, where you're stressed out about an exam you currently have or a patient you're currently dealing with that's giving you a lot of trouble, and you leave work and you're thinking about it, and then at nighttime you're with your spouse or your girlfriend, boyfriend, and it's still on your mind, or the next morning you wake up and you're still thinking about it. It seems like you're in a perpetual cycle of grief. I noticed that once I left work at work, I was able to have a completely different mindset. When I show up and clock in for work, I do what I have to do. When I clock out, I don't think about my cases anymore. Guys, this will drive you crazy if you're always thinking about that slight margin, if that margin could have been a little deeper, if you could have extracted it in a different technique. There's tons and tons of clinical examples I can give you, but my best advice is to leave work at work. I remember when I used to do these big surgeries and I would think about them for days until I saw the patient again. I'm always thinking, did I extract that tooth the right way? Is that suture gonna fall out soon? These things would eat me alive. So I'm telling you now, don't worry about it as much. Try your best at work, leave work at work. Thinking about it and burdening yourself every single moment of the day doesn't help you. Instead, I try to channel this energy towards something more positive, like reaching out to my coworkers or my friends and family and having more meaningful conversations about these things. Once you link up with your friends who are graduated, all you guys do is talk about dentistry, and it drives me nuts. And I wish it wasn't like that, but you can't escape it. At least you know that your friends are always gonna be with you for dental talks, and it's important to find friends that you have to talk about things non-dental related. Okay, now let's identify what's actually causing your stress. We're gonna remove diet, exercise, and sleep from this equation. For me, throughout my entire career, it was always something different that would lead to stress. In school, I was trying to get an A on every exam, and NYU, that's a 92.5. That's not easy. The moment I realized that I can just try my best and not care so much about the numbers, my life became much easier. And after graduation, it was the clinical pace. The pace is gonna be fast, And I was never really told at what pace I needed to work, but I did feel a little bit of pressure. It was almost like a little microscopic lighter near my butthole, like easing me to push a little harder and go a little faster. Initially in the beginning, until I got used to it and I was able to control my own clinical procedures and understand how long it would take to do certain procedures. I remember those first couple weeks, they were rough. Oh my God, I was shitty at everything. I was always go home completely wiped out, stressing, oh, did I leave a root tip in there? Oh man, I wish I could have filled that a little better. It was a real burden on me until I realized that I'm in control. This is a process and this is the practice of dentistry. You're not perfect, you'll never be perfect. So it's okay to take the wins and the losses as they come. What helped me in those situations was reaching out to my mentors and my colleagues, asking for clinical tips and tricks to be able to get an extraction done more effectively, or how to get a better restorative outcome for my fillings. You need people to reach out to, otherwise you're gonna be feeling like you're on an island all the time, very isolated and lonely. And if you're just starting out in your clinicals and you need help and you're struggling, please reach out to me on Instagram. Leave a comment below if you're struggling with something in particular. So over time, as I became better clinically, these fears, these anxieties, they started to diminish. After I got help, I reached out to others, I became more comfortable in my clinical practice. But then I got promoted to a lead dentist, and then the problems started to arise again. One, just being a dentist, just handling dentistry, but once you're a clinical director, now you're in charge of people. And if you know private practice dentists, you know the hardest thing they say about running a practice is managing other people. So the stressors went from bridge preps to that assistant that would drive me crazy because she would always show up late, or that manager that's always super uptight. So these people forced me to have much more difficult conversations to resolve issues. Becoming a leader and understanding how people work, what they want and what they don't like, takes a lot of time and experience to really hone in on. And eventually you're gonna learn that it's better off to outsource things that cause you a lot of stress. You want the most predictable results, whether it's the front end or the back end of your practice. If insurance claims drive you crazy where you want to pull out your eyeballs, then refer that out. There's a company that can help you with insurance. If you're ready to tackle that MB2 on that maxillary molar and dive into these canals for the next 3 hours, go ahead, good for you. But for me, I'm referring that out to a specialist who's much more capable, and it'll happen much quicker for the patient. And for me, it's the best option for them. So that's what I'm doing 99% of the time. Maybe it's the clinical hours you work. For me, that burned me out like crazy. Working 10-hour days corporate is insane, but I'm adjusting pretty well at this point. And also I'm very good at delegating my tasks. If there's something I can have an assistant or a PSR do, I'm doing that. That way I can focus on as much dentistry as I possibly need to and help the patients as much as I can. I realized pretty quickly when I'm wearing too many hats in the office, it would stress me out like crazy. When I'm trying to do a little bit of everybody's job, I wouldn't be able to do my job as effectively. Please delegate and look to others to help you run your practice. Guys, definitely try to exercise as much as you can. For me, I know exercise has been a huge part of my life. I'm always trying to work out and stay fit. I love to run, I love to go biking, and I love working out, weightlifting as much as anybody else. And I know this had a tremendous impact on my life because after every workout, I have so much energy and I feel so invigorated. You do need a strong core, a strong back, shoulders, and hands. And the best way to do that is weight training. And as the last note, find other people that allow you to be heard. I noticed that when I'm able to open up and speak freely without judgment to my friends and family, it would relieve so much of my tension and I'd feel much more comfortable with anything I had to deal with. When I'm working, it may be that one coworker or that special friend that you've had your entire life. It's important to have these people and these outlets so you're able to release all this stress and decrease that cortisol just a little bit. Now for some people that could be a sister, it could be a cousin, or it can be a licensed therapist. I think all three are effective and you gotta find that person in your life that you connect to the most and that's willing to just listen to you. For me, I've been so fortunate to have a therapist. I reach out to him every time I need to. This dude's like 75 years old. He's like a Zen master, man. I love talking to him. Even though I don't feel depressed all the time, I don't feel anxious all the time, it's just always nice to have somebody to talk to about your daily life and anything that's on your mind, especially somebody who's a trained professional. Sometimes your best friend isn't able to handle you at your worst with your most difficult problems and your emotions like a trained professional would. So my opinion is definitely reach out to a trained professional if you need one. It's done wonders for me and my personality and my growth, my emotional intelligence. And I would recommend a therapist to anybody struggling mentally. And for me, it always blew my mind that people would be so willing to pay for personal trainers to work out their physical, but nobody would pay for a therapist to work out their mental. Guys, if you're struggling mentally, reach out. Please, I'm always here for you. Leave a comment down below if you feel like your job is getting too stressful or that exam is getting to be too much. Please share this video with somebody who's stressed the hell out with their day-to-day life.